Hey YouTube, it's the Cousin Dan. I have here an AMSEC safe. This is American Security Products Incorporated. They make fire safes of all different sizes. This safe, I do not know who owned it. It was sold with a building and it was there when they bought it, and so it's just kind of changed hands. No one knows the code. We're going to try to get into it. We're going to see if we can figure out how, and then we're going to see if we can even save it and maybe put it back together to be reused once we find the code from the back side of the door. That's all provided that we don't screw anything up, and then, hey, maybe we'll find 100 pounds of gold or something. Now, how would I not know that there's 100 pounds of gold inside? This thing actually weighs 700 pounds. It definitely feels like it. It's a beast to move around. We put it into the back of a Ford Escape. That thing was tail dragging. Don't tell the state police. So you can adjust the codes on these. If you have the original one, you open it up and then you get to the back of the lock and you adjust it. Somebody has, before I got it, has cut a little square hole in the bottom, and they broke out some of the fireproofing that's in the middle. Now that fireproofing is concrete and vermiculite and diatomaceous earth. And so what that actually does is it traps water, so that when, and I can just push it apart with my hand, so that when it catches on fire, or the house catches on fire that it's in, it actually gets hot and releases steam, which puts a positive pressure on the inside of it, so it blows out steam rather than letting hot air in. There's also a hole here, so I have this little board camera that plugs into a cell phone, and I stuck it inside, and I saw a few things, notebooks, something that says Sony on it. I think it's a cassette tape case, some papers. I can't see beyond the first shelf. These are really handy, and I'm going to put a link in the description for where you can buy this. We're going to cut along the outside. I've made one cut here. We're going to cut along the outside, take this plate off, and then we're going to bust out all of the vermiculite concrete inside, and then we're going to get to the second plate. They're about that far apart. There are two plates. We're going to cut through the second one, and then we'll be inside. So let's have at it. That's probably the end of that. One trip to Harbor Freight later, I have a new angle grinder.
Might make it easier to take the pieces out.
I need someone to answer this question for me. I know this stuff has vermiculite in it. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I kept getting shocked a bunch of times while I was vacuuming that up with the shock vac. Even through my jeans, if I brushed into the safe, I would get shocked while I was vacuuming it. Okay, along the edge of this inside box, I can put a screwdriver in at an angle and tap it down, and it does not feel like I'm sliding against the vertical inside of the box. So there's some kind of lip here, and the wall comes down there. I don't know how far in the wall is, so I'm going to try to figure out a way to tuck something back behind it to see if I can tap it into this wall, or maybe chip some of this stuff out, so I know where to cut along this line. I can feel the wall there right now. So if I see where that's at, put that back about where it was. That means that the wall is like right there. Make a mark. I'm going to do the same thing on all four sides just to make sure the lip is the same size before I go ahead inside this line and cut. So this is very curious to me. All sides that I've tested are different. I would expect the sides to be symmetrical, but they are not symmetrical. I'm going to mark them out with a straight edge, and then cut some nice clean lines there so that when I put this back together, I can have some good looking welds. Well, I got shocked several more times there, so again, try to answer that question. So it kind of looks like there is a little piece of tubing that curves right around here. I'm not sure what that is. It looks like I've cut into the top of it. I can also see a couple books inside of there. One has a barcode on it. That's about all I can see. I definitely did cut through the liner. There is like a felt liner that looks like it's hanging down. So we'll see what that's about here in a minute too. Also, I was definitely wrong about the inside panel being thinner than the outside panel. It is at least as thick, if not thicker. And you can see that it is tearing up my cutting wheels a lot faster than the outside was. Okay, I have cut welds here, here, and here. I've cut all the way through, all the way around. I don't know exactly how this is attached, but I've definitely scored it pretty deeply. So let's just see. Should be able to bend it back. And here we go. What do you think's inside? Huh. Let's see what this is about. Looks like we have a paint touch-up kit that's solidified and a stamp of somebody's signature and some old bills and a bunch of cassette tapes and a broken shelf. Doesn't look like a whole lot. But I'll dig through this and see if there's anything interesting. A lot of discs and backups. Hard drive of some sort. The latest thing we've seen is 2002. This thing might be like 4 megabytes. I don't know. First shelf here. I think that might have been the Sony I was seeing. And a whole bunch more data cassettes. Now, whoever's safe this was pretty smart to put a big desiccant pack in there with all this stuff. I gotta hand it to him for that one. And there it is. I'm at the bottom and there were not 200 pounds of gold. Alright, well let's see if we can get this thing to work. You can see the shafts in there that are all bolted shut. Let's undo each of these little screws here and see what we find behind this back of the door panel. There's a metal plate on the back of the door, and it looks like there's a locking mechanism there. So I see this panel right here, and I see that there's a spring wound up right here, and there's some kind of bar right there. And before I really touch any of this stuff, I'm just going to study it for a while and just make sure that I'm not going to snap anything, release anything, or do anything stupid when I open this. I haven't seen any pane of glass so far.
I was told by a locksmith that there would be a pane of glass in here that could be broken, but maybe that's not in this model. So I just don't want to do something wrong and then damage this thing going forward. So I'm just going to kind of check it out for a while, maybe do some more reading, and then we'll be back. So we're looking here at the back of the locking mechanism, and you can see when I move the lever on the outside like this, that this is the lever. It's trying to move this whole bar over this way and open these it's moving it over this way and pulling these bolts in so that I can open the door. However, this plate right here at that edge is ramming into this brass bolt. So when I try to open it, it hits into it. It will not allow it to open. So what we need to do is find a way to lower that brass bolt and then reset the lock. However, there is this pin right here. This pin goes through this shaft, which is spring-loaded. Let me show you a little bit closer. Essentially what's happening here is that when this is lowered down, the whole thing will slide. However, if you jar this or try to disturb the lock, and you break this panel off somehow, this pin releases this larger pin, and this spring allows it to fire upward, locking this permanently until you can get inside the safe or drill through this rod from the outside. If I put this mirror under it, you can see that that pin does not go all the way through the shaft. So if I unscrew these two screws and pull this plate off, that thing will release and shoot it upward. So let's do that now and see if I'm right. And there it is. You see what happened there? As soon as this plate was released, this bolt shot right up. And now if I try to open the door, it doesn't even get to the front here. There's a gap right there. It hits into this bar. Even if I get this down and I drilled that thing out, I would have to know where this rod is from the outside to drill through it. So this is a secondary safety mechanism that has no lock attached to it, just a spring in case you ever try to fidget with this from the outside not knowing what you're doing. Alright, I want you to see this from a good perspective, so I've got you inside the safe now. I'm going to use this little mirror, and I'm going to turn the dial on the outside. And what I'm going to try to do is line up these marks here on all three wheels with the fence that is on the back of this. It's a bar that goes across. There are some really good YouTube videos out there that explain how these locks work, so I will not duplicate that content. That's actually how I learned how these work too. So I'm turning left on the outside, one hand on the outside, one hand on the inside here, until I see in the mirror that the first mark is going to line up with the fence. So when I get that looks about right. I'm going to look at the number here. I am lined up with the number. And then I'm going to go back the other direction. I'll move the first wheel first, and then the second wheel catches, and you can see it coming around. And I'm going to line its opening up with the fence. Looks like I'm at number... Then I go left one more time here. Move the first wheel around until I'm lined up with the fence. I may not have gotten these right. We're going to give it a shot. If I move this back, I didn't get it right. Okay. I'm going to try to line this up with the fence right there. And then I'm going to go to the right. Let's try that. I'm going to go back to the left like that. And let's see if I got it. Oh, it's so close. It's not there. You got to be right on the money. Okay, let's try this again. Right like that. For the third. Let's try that. That might do it. Come back, see if we got it. Didn't get it. Okay. Alright, I'm bringing them all around to the left. Bring this around. Nope, don't have it. Go back around. Nope, didn't get it. Bring it around. Doggone, that's tough. Let's try that. No, I'm too... Bring it up too far. Okay. Now those things are way off. Okay. Nope, too far. That should do it. Bring it back around. So close. Not quite. Try to see where the fence is. And then I bring this around. No, okay, dang it. Way too far. Bring this around. Nope. And I bring this guy around. Got it. Why can I not bring that down? Ah, another safety. So when this is down, the front plate pushes on this guy, and you have these screws in that plate that I took off. So if you take the plate off, it's yet another safety. You have to have that be pushed in order to bring that bolt down. Now that I have that down, just pull this artificial one out of the way. And got it open. There it is. And that's how you get that off, I guess. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and deburr all my cuts here, and then I will weld it back together. Well, they're not the prettiest welds ever, but they're there. They're pretty strong, and you're never going to see them because I'm going to pour concrete over here, and I'm going to actually mix in some of this, as much of this vermiculite stuff as I can salvage, just so I can use the fireproofing properties of that and a little bit of concrete to hold it all together. And then I'm going to take a little bit more time on the welds on the outside to make them look a little bit better. But again, it's going to be on the bottom, so I don't really care that much. So next step, now that that's done, is to fill this thing up with fireproofing again.
I'm going to put some floor tile mortar in this just to kind of hold it together.
So you can see here I have salvaged some of the bigger pieces. I don't know if that's going to be beneficial or not, but I'm just going to take the bucket of mixture that I just created and kind of pour it through and around everything to make up the difference. Alright, I have cleaned it up, I've wiped it down, and I masked off 1 inch from the bottom so that it's in line with the I'll fix that in line with the thickness of this. And I'm just going to spray paint it black with a primer rust preventative paint coat.
Well, the paint's done, and that was the last step, right? Except I regret to inform you, I forgot to record moving the 700-pound safe upstairs. So, maybe next time. The safe works well. The door is incredibly heavy. It gives it a great quality feel. The locking mechanism is very smooth, so I'd say that if you have a safe that has been gifted to you or is rightfully in your possession, then I think this is a viable option for recovering the contents of the safe and recovering the safe itself. Just be careful, be meticulous with each move that you make so you don't get stuck somewhere and lock yourself out. Be mindful that a lot of the metal is sharp when you cut it. And yeah, have fun with the project. So thanks for watching The Cousin Dan, and as always, if you have a comment, you can place it in the comment section below, and if you find this video is helpful to you, please consider subscribing. Thanks.